Hey everyone, Tino here, and tonight's video is going to be about why am I on YouTube? Why am I now giving my advice and my opinions and letting people know my secrets? I have a lot of family members and really great friends that are just like, hey, you need to keep it on the down low. You've earned all of this experience. You don't want to give it away. You're creating competition. I've heard all of this. I'm not going to give anybody success. That's one thing I know I can't do. I can't give somebody a success. But I could help somebody get there. I could help them, give them a piece of an answer. So, going back 3 years ago when me and my wife started this business, I was on YouTube just about every day. Probably 2 or 3 times out of the day, I'd find myself on my phone just watching a couple videos. I followed Raiken Profit. I followed Suzanne B. Wells, the eBay coach. I learned a lot from her. There was a husband and wife team, Gil Daddy and Gil Mama. I don't know if you guys are familiar with them. I don't think they're making videos anymore. But, every seller out there had their strengths. And what I would do is I would pick them apart. I would look at their strengths. Like, Raiken, he was really organized. He had a lot of templates for his listings. He sold a lot of, and he still does, a lot of men's clothing. So, I learned from that. And, I dabbled in some men's clothing when I first started selling on eBay. So, and I learned how to build templates and, how to make my listings look very professional. Then there was, Suzanne Wells. She was just super organized. She was a neat freak, and I was just like, what? And that was my weakness. So I picked up a lot of tips from her on, how to organize my receipts and how to structure my eBay business. Gil Daddy and Gil Mama, I picked up a lot of different things from them and how to ship, bigger items, how to charge calculated shipping. So, I was a ghost too. I didn't ever voice my opinion. I would never ask them questions. I was a hoarder. I would just take all this information and I used it. I really did. I put it to work. And that's one thing I regret, is I never commented on any of the YouTube channels out there or any of the episodes. I just took that information. Some of it I was just like, okay, this is worthless. What's the next video? I would just go through them one after another. And I learned so much from these videos that I was able to build a business. Me and my wife built this business. We would just take everyone's strengths, put them together, we pieced it together, and we filled in the blanks, and we were able to build a business. So at the end of 2013, that's right when I probably started watching a lot of YouTube videos. And the only thing I would do different now is I would comment. Like, Suzanne Wells would say something and something just didn't, she was missing something. And instead of me just putting a comment below her video and just say, hey, how do you handle this? Or how do you handle that? What I would do is I would just go to another channel and look it up. And what I should have done is just sent her a question. She could have answered that question, or another one of her followers could have answered that question. And I realize now I was probably not the only person who had that question. So was I helping the eBay community by not being vocal? Absolutely not. I should have voiced my opinion, asked questions. I could have been asking other people's questions. So that's one thing, if I could go back, that's what I would have done. So here recently, probably, I think it was actually in January of 2017, I was watching Prof Sales. And again, I was quiet. I wasn't ever out there. No one knew I even existed. And on Prof Sales channel, he did the Connect series. And he was just like, hey, anybody who wants to come up and talk about their experience as an eBay seller, I'll have you on my show, and I'm just like, hey, that sounds interesting. And I was really proud of what me and my wife did. We got it, from ground zero. We built it up. So I'm like, you know what? I really want to talk about that and show other people that it actually can be done. So I contacted him, and he was like, hey, that's great. Let's pair you up. And her name was Dawn. So me and Dawn were together on this one show on his channel. And I talked about shoes for a little bit, and we listened to Dawn's side of the story. The show was over, and Prof Sales, Jason, he was like, you know what, we got bombarded with people asking questions about shoes. And I'm like, wow, are you serious? People are interested in selling shoes? That's crazy. So he was like, how about in the next couple weeks, let's get together and make another video, and we could just do an hour-long video to where people can see your side of the story. And I'm like, wow, people really do. There are other people just like me. They want to learn. So I told him, I said, let's do it. I said, but in the meantime, I'm going to start my YouTube channel. This was before I even had a YouTube channel, my first time with Prof Sales. So I was just like, let's do that. So I started my YouTube channel. I think I had 8 subscribers. And I think they were all family members because they felt sorry for me. So I was on his interview. And then after that interview, I was bombarded. I think my channel grew to like 250, or maybe, I don't know, it could have been close to 500 subscribers just right off the bat. I was like, wow, this is great. So, I just started putting out one video a week. I'm like, okay, I don't have a lot of time on my hands. I am still running a full-blown business, but I really felt I owe the community everything that I've learned over the last 3 years from other resellers. So what I'm going to do is I promised myself once a week I'm just going to put out a video and help others. And in the meantime, I'm learning myself, because you know what? Somebody's going to ask me a question. I'm going to be like, wow, I never even thought about that, and somebody else will answer them and I'll learn. So I'm going to do my part in the reselling community and try to help, because I was there and I still am. So that is why I'm on YouTube now. It was a challenge. It was hard. My intro video, I think it was less than 2 minutes. I just wanted to explain to people who I was. And I think that took me close to 4.5 to 5 hours to make that 2-minute video, because I could not talk to a camera. That was the hardest thing for me. And it's not easy now, but I couldn't do it. I would do the video and I would forget what I'm supposed to say. But you know what? I got through it. I made myself do it. And I have a feeling if more resellers would start a YouTube channel, and I can promise you, you're not creating competition. You're not gonna create a monster where they're gonna put you out of business. What you're doing is you're helping them in a certain area. They're gonna take your strengths. If they're smart, they're gonna take your strengths and they're gonna put them to work. So everyone has strengths, everyone has weaknesses. You have to know which ones they are, and you have to put your strengths to work. So that kind of explains that. Just recently, Steve, Raiken Profit, he asked me to go on his show. So I'm like, wow, that's great. I've been following you for, over 3 years now. Let's do it. So, I was on that show. It was him and Chris, the Bonafide Hustler. And I don't know if you guys have seen it, but it is on YouTube. You could watch that video, and it's all about shoes. And I talked about my journey, me and my wife starting the business, us quitting our jobs, and it was great. After the video, I was talking to Steve, and Steve is just like, man, how's your YouTube channel going? And I'm like, man, one of my biggest videos, my most popular video is my shoe haul. It's, at that time, I think it was right around, close to 10,000 views, and I think now it's over 11,000 views. And I'm like, I didn't think it was that exciting. I think that was my second video I put out. And, I was scared the whole time I was doing it. I did it wrong. I wasn't even showing the labels to the camera. People were hitting me pretty hard in the comment section. I just didn't know what I was doing. But I'm like, it hit so many views. And, Steve is just like, people are interested in selling shoes. The the average selling price on shoes versus clothing, sometimes it's double or even triple. So I mean, if you could sell a lot of shoes, I mean, that's a great business to get into. So a lot of people are interested in that. And I'm like, you know what? You are right. And, you know, I never thought about that. But that is the same reason why I got into shoes. You know, I was selling clothing. I was trying a lot of different things, but shoes really made sense to me. And I guarantee you, if you guys ever spend time with me, a decent amount of time with me, I promise you, you're going to start selling shoes. Because I am biased about it, but I am very convincing I could get you to start selling shoes because it makes perfect sense. So, you know, me and him were talking, Steve, and we decided, hey, let's get together and put all of these, let's just pick out the top 101 shoe brands that the brands that made you and your wife quit your job. You know, don't do like the ones that you're not going to make a lot of money. Just pick out your bread and butter and your home run brands, the ones that keep you in business. Pick those out, and what we're going to do is we're going to put it in a book form to where somebody could get it all in one shot. And you know, and I'm like, yeah, you know, that sounds like a good idea. I said, but I have my YouTube channel, you know, and I was thinking about it, but you know what? I put out one video a week. If I hit 2 of those brands and talk about those brands, it'll be over a year before I could talk about all that content. So I figured, okay, you know, I'm convinced this is a perfect idea. Let's get it in a book form, and let's do this. Let's, you know, and he knows how to publish it. I didn't. So I was just like, let's do this. Let's get all of this out there. Anybody who wants to try the shoe game, this gives them all of the information at their fingertips. They don't have to research it. They don't have to go through all the sold listings. They don't have to research every shoe as they're going through Goodwill, which I had to do. I had to do all of that. I learned from experience. And I was telling Steve, I was like, you know what? Where I'm at right now, if I could go back 3 years ago and somebody had this book out and I didn't buy it, I would be kicking myself right now because of how many items. I mean, I'm still learning today, and there's items that I finally, I'm like, you know what, I've seen this brand a couple times. I look it up and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have been passing on this item for the past 3 years and I should have been picking it up. So, I mean, this is just information at your fingertips, and we decided let's go ahead and do this. And we just launched the pre-order today. So, or actually, I think this video is actually going to be put out tomorrow, Tuesday. So it was actually put out yesterday. So, and I'm going to leave the link below. If whoever's interested in getting this book, it is available. I'm not going to be pushing it on anybody. I don't think it is for everyone. I mean, if you're not going to be interested in selling shoes, or if you don't think it's a good value, do not get it. Stay tuned to my channel. I like to interact with you and leave comments on anything. Whether you disagree with me or if you want to add something to my story, feel free to do that. I really do enjoy that. I really like people who are vocal and can help this community. But one thing that I really liked what we're doing in additional to that book is we're going to have a closed Facebook group. So anybody who buys this book is then going to be accepted in this Facebook group. And it's just going to be shoe sellers. And to me, that's just the best tool anybody can use, because when you're at a thrift store, if we could get a lot of people in this group, if you're at a thrift store and you're just undecided, you need a second opinion if you should buy a certain pair of shoes there, take a picture of it, put it on the page. I guarantee you somebody's going to see that and say, hey, did you check the heels? Did you check the sole? Is there a soft spot? Something you're not thinking about. You can make your decision right away. So I think the community could help each other a lot better if we have a little bit more of a narrow, more specific, I guess I should say, more specific Facebook groups rather than just a reseller group, which those are great. I'm a part of a couple of them, which, my gosh, I've learned so much. But if there is one that is really fine-tuned to your niche, and you're surrounded with other people in your same niche, I guarantee you're going to learn so much more. So anyways, guys, I just wanted to talk about that too, as just a continuation from my answer of why I'm on YouTube. And that answer is to pay it back to the community from me being a hoarder and holding back all of this information. Yes, I put it to use, but it was selfish. I want to now tell other people about the pitfalls that I've went through to where you guys can avoid those. So anyways, guys, I'm going to go ahead and get this video uploaded. If you guys have any questions or comments, hit me up. I'm going to respond to you. And I'm going to leave the link below to this book that me and Steve put together. And I will talk to you next time. Thank you.